Hello and welcome to this session on networking effectively at events and conferences. My name is Matt Jones and I'm one of the careers advisors here at York St John University. Now, this session is being recorded live, so do expect some ers and ums from me throughout, but you are very welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, at the end of today's session, you should be able to identify some of the features of good quality networking. You should be able to create your own elevator pitch. And finally, you should develop your own style to network in a way that suits you. And this is what this session is all about. It's not about making you into a rock star networker or making you feel uncomfortable while networking. It really is all around finding hints and tips that suit you, that allows you to network in a way that you like to do. So first things first, I just want to demystify the N word, the network word. Because I think that the idea of networking can be a little bit scary. So what I've done, I've taken the opportunity sort of to look into what different people define networking to be. And that the first thing here is networking is all about connecting with people. But then again, isn't that what life is all about? And that is totally true. Networking is just like meeting other people. It's just talking about your research interests or yourself and your previous experience and what you want to do with your career. It's all about talking about ourselves and each other and building that relationship. So it's nothing new. Networking isn't this thing that we haven't been doing so far. We do it every day. But networking in this context is basically building those professional relationships and using them to your advantage in the future. Effective networking isn't a result of luck, it requires hard work and persistence. Absolutely true. It's not just a case of turning up at an event and starting talking to people. Really, it does take hard work. Lots of research and preparation goes into good quality networking as well. Many people believe that effective networking is done face to face, building a rapport with someone by looking at them in the eye and leading to a solid connection and foundational trust. And I'd agree with that. I mean, in this current climate, obviously a lot of sort of networking and meeting people is done over Skype or Microsoft Teams, but fundamentally it's about building that relationship and that solid connection with somebody. I've met so many people who've opened doors for me and remained in my life both personally and professionally. After a while, networking doesn't feel like networking. It's both serendipitous and unpredictable, and something that just naturally becomes part of your work life and your personal life. I'd agree with this totally. It's all about, as they say, building relationships and meeting people. And you might meet someone professionally that actually becomes a friend of yours moving forward and supports you through your career. And that's the case with them as well. So it's all about relationships. Relationships are transactional. So we're not just building relationships so we can gain something from this, but it's all about how we can support each other through this as well. Learning networking basics is only a gateway to career growth and exploration, absolutely. Getting to know people who are currently working in the same industry or sector as you, have the same research interest as you perhaps, and developing your commercial awareness and research knowledge as well. And finally, this is one of my favourites. Networking doesn't have to be all about talking shop over appetizers and bad Chardonnay. Do it in a way that works for you. And as I said earlier, this isn't just about you trying to be somebody you're not or a networking superstar. It's using the tips that we will talk about today in a way that suits you for you to get the results that you want from these events and conferences. So I love a catchphrase. So what do you think this is? I mentioned this in the learning outcomes earlier. This is an elevator pitch. Get it? Elevator pitch. If you haven't heard of an elevator pitch before, basically it's sort of quite a businessy term. If you imagine that you're at work or you're at university and you get into the elevator and in walks the CEO of the organization that you're working for, or perhaps sort of a rock star researcher that you've really wanted to speak to, and they're probably in the elevator for about 20 to 30 seconds before they get off on their floor. So that's your opportunity to get to know them a little bit, to introduce yourself and build that relationship initially. Okay? So when you're thinking about developing your elevator pitch, things that you might like to consider are what you're studying or have studied, your current year group or the current situation that you're in, areas of academic or professional interest relevant to the person that you're speaking to, any relevant experience that you have so far, or any relevant qualifications and skills that you have. And don't forget to mention your current aim or goal, so what you're currently working towards at the moment. And what this does, it allows the person you're speaking to get a really good overview of who you are as a person, what you're wanting to achieve, what you've got to offer, and how they may able to support you, or you can support each other. But a lot of people say we should ditch the pitch because elevator pitches are often scripted and wooden. So I'd say if you are building your own pitch, and we'll come to that in a second, it's all around being much more natural and less wooden. It's not an opportunity to write a script and stick to it. Again, as we mentioned before, networking and conversations are serendipitous and by chance. So it's really important for you to get a really good overview of what your elevator pitch could be, but use it to dip in and dip out of, take bits of. Ultimately, the conversation during the networking comes first, and above all, it's about building those relationships. So, as I said earlier, it's transactional, it's two-way. So don't be tempted to write a script to go into your careers event or your conference. So here's your opportunity to build your own pitch. We're going to take about 5 minutes, so do pause the video in a second. Think about what you could mention in your pitch. Take a few minutes to bullet point what your pitch includes. Remember, you're looking initially at a maximum of 20 to 30 seconds to talk through yourself and your pitch. And remember, you can include the following: what you're studying or have studied, your current year group or situation, areas of academic or professional interest, relevant experience that you have, relevant qualifications and skills that you've got, and your current goal. So take a few minutes to think about what you could mention in your pitch and write a few bullet points of what you might say. Fantastic. So hopefully you've created a short list of bullet points that could form part of your pitch. Now, after this, the next stage after you've created your pitch is actually put into action. So you might want to attend an upcoming event, or if you're going to a conference soon, you might want to try this out. So the next thing I'd like to say, based on what I've just mentioned about trying this out, is what does it look like? What does it look like to deliver this pitch and build those relationships and to network effectively? So this is your opportunity in this next activity to be a fly on the wall. Okay, this is a video or two links to videos from a careers event. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is in turn click on each or not click on, visit each URL link, which will take you to a section of a YouTube video of this person called Siska during a careers event. What I'd like you to do is make some notes on what you see, including what Siska does well and not so well during this interaction. So take some time to look at those links right now and make some notes on what you find. I hope that's given you some food for thought there of things that Siska did well and not so well. Here are some notes that I made from the two examples. So in example one, there was no handshake from Siska. She jumped straight into the pitch and didn't really sort of start the conversation or build that relationship. She hadn't done any previous research on the organisation, so really it just came across as a sort of a bit shoddy or unprepared. She discussed skills that didn't really match the conversation topic. Again, ultimately, this is a conversation, so it's about the topics linking and you building upon what you've already discussed. She didn't really capitalise on explaining her interest in the organisation or opportunity or her motivations for talking to that recruiter on the day. And finally, Siska says thanks and runs away right at the end. In comparison or juxtaposition, in example two, she gave a really great handshake and gave a really good introduction. She asked questions like, "How are you?" and said that she appreciated the recruiter's time. Siska demonstrated that she had performed some research beforehand. And she had some really specific questions to ask, and that's really important. Remember, the person you're speaking to, it's not about wasting their time. It's about thinking of some questions you can beforehand and making sure you ask them quite specific questions if you can during that interaction, not taking lots and lots of time. She linked back to her own skills, attributes, and experience. Remember, she was trying to get a job or trying to get a position or the internship program. So she was talking a lot about her skills and experience. She did that really well. She also asked about training opportunities that were available to her, and that got much more information from the recruiter that maybe he would have ordinarily shared. And finally, she rounded it off really well by asking for a business card so she could keep in touch, and ended with a really good handshake. So these are just a few things that you may have picked up on during the videos, and a few things that you could use during your own networking. Here are my top tips for effective networking, or what I like to call networking for dummies. And these are really just sort of some really straightforward practical tips and advice that can help anybody become a better networker. As I said earlier, this is all about making networking work for you. So do feel free to swap and change, pick and mix some of these tips. But ultimately, this is what you're aiming for. So what you might like to do is take a look at the attendee list, or who you know is going to be at the conference or event, and have a plan on who you'd like to focus on, and do this in turn. Remember, don't visit your first choice first, because you almost want to bed in and try it out a little bit. Almost have some conversations with companies or individuals you're less interested in speaking to, just so you can sort of get in the swing of networking, and then move on to the people on your hit list. Do a bit of research beforehand, as a minimum, what they do, whether that's an organisation or whether that's a researcher or expert in a field. Having a knowledge of what they do as a minimum is really what you're aiming for to start off with. But anything more than that, so any sort of values or the mission statement of an organisation or a person, are other things you can also research and look into, and ultimately have a really good idea of what you want to achieve during this event. So if we don't set ourselves any goals, we're not sure whether we've been successful or not, because we've not sort of been working towards a goal. So if you maybe pick 2 or 3 things or 2 or 3 goals that you want to achieve from attending this event, whether that's speaking to a specific person or developing your professional network, make sure you hold yourself accountable during this event, and capitalize on those opportunities. Remember the 7-second rule. So our first impressions are formed in the first 7 seconds of meeting another individual. So think about your handshake, think about your body language, your smiling, how you introduce yourself, what you look like. And when I say what you look like, I don't mean what you look like. I mean maybe what clothes you're wearing and how you come across in your body language. And remember to remain positive with that body language as well. Lots of sort of smiles and nods in the right scenarios, and again, the opportunity to really give a good impression um, about yourself. And finally, on this slide, repeat their name back to them. So not only does this show that you're paying attention to them as a person, but also to helps you to remember their name as well. I've been at lots of events where I've talked to somebody for about 10 minutes, and by the end, I've actually forgotten their name, which seems awful. So make sure you repeat their name throughout your conversation as well. My next tip is really important, so make sure you go it alone and avoid walking around in packs. I know it can be really nerve-wracking to go into a conference or an event, but remember, we've set ourselves a goal of what we want to achieve during this event, and if we go around in packs, that doesn't really give us the opportunity to do that, because what you'll end up doing is ticking off the goals of other people's lists and not necessarily your own. So make sure you go it alone when you're in the conference or event. If you want to meet up at lunchtime or break times or regularly with your friends to have a bit of a pep talk and talk about how things are going, that's fine, but those conversations really should be one-on-one. Remember to keep it relevant, so be concise, succinct, and to the point, and keep it around the organisation, topic, or role. If, for example, through sort of professional conversations, your conversation turns to other areas of your life or your work, and you want to talk about that with the recruiter, that's fine as well if they've brought it to your attention, but otherwise just stick relevant to organisation, topic, or role. And don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what they're there for at a conference or at an event. They're there to answer questions and build relationships. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. Speaking of questions, if you are at a conference or a careers event, what questions could you potentially ask a representative of an organisation? What I'd like you to do is pause the video for a second and think about what sort of questions you could ask the individual that you're speaking to. I'd say try and think of about 5. So here are some examples of some questions that you could ask. People love talking about themselves and their own career journey. So you could ask questions such as, how did you get into the industry? You could also, if you're interested in working for an organisation or maybe studying at a university or undertaking a research project with another university or individual, you could ask, in your opinion, what is the best part about working for or representing that organisation or university? You could, if you're talking about a particular job or role, you could ask where this role fits in with the team structure, especially if sort of team dynamic is really important to you. You could also show your commercial awareness by saying, I understand you've just opened an office in Leeds. Are there any more plans for expansion? You could also ask things like, what is the working environment or culture of the company like? You could even ask for some tips on the recruitment process. So, what is involved in your application process so you know what to expect if you do apply for that role? And finally, you could ask questions like, how many graduates do you have within the team and what support is available for newly hired graduates? So lots of different types of questions you could ask. And depending which sort of event you had in mind or conference you had in mind, you could have lots of different types of questions. But these are the sorts of things, types of questions that you'd want to be asking or could ask during these conversations. So one other thing that you could also do is take a copy of your CV with you to hand over if you're discussing a particular role or a scheme that they're currently hiring for, but they may not be able to take your CV, especially around GDPR principles. One thing that's even better than taking a copy of your CV with you is using the notes from your conversation to tailor your CV further. So you might find some quite specific or helpful information from your conversation when you that you'd like to include during your application to that particular organisation. So don't be afraid to tailor your CV afterwards in line with the information that you've found, and keep a record of your conversation. You don't need to make notes as they're talking unless you want to, but as soon as you finish that conversation, don't go straight on to the next individual or the next organization. Make sure you take some time out to go away into a quiet corner, make some notes on what you've learned or taken away from the conversation, so you can always come back to it afterwards. Finally, how do you end? So you close the conversation well by thanking them for their time and for any advice given. You could also ask, if you are on LinkedIn, if they're in LinkedIn and if they'd mind if you connected with them on the platform to keep in touch moving forward. You could also ask for a business card or their contact details if you've got any questions after the event, and end with a firm handshake, eye contact, and a smile. And don't forget to follow up. Now, I've not misspelt two. The reason I've put two there in that form and in bold is that two stands for 2 days. So don't forget to follow up. In the 2 days following meeting them or 2 days following the event, don't be afraid or try to follow up with them by email or on LinkedIn and thank them for their time. And that's where maintaining good relationships and making sure they remember you comes into it, because 2 days is what you're aiming for to get back to them and follow up on the things that you've discussed. So my final thoughts for leaving a good impression. So be well mannered with all delegates that you meet during the event. Avoid talking about any personal problems or bad mouthing previous employers or other organisations or other exhibitors perhaps. And if you're particularly nervous, just remember it's only a conversation. Um, Remember positive body language, so make strong eye contact and give a good firm handshake both at the start and the end of the interaction. Keep your body language open, so lots of open palms and open gestures, and appear relaxed. but attentive and focused. Remember to smile frequently and retain eye contact too. Clarity, so that's really important. So remember to speak clearly and concisely, and don't forget to stay relevant and professional. But also, on the flip side of clarity, if you're unsure of any terminology or any business terms that you're familiar with that they may have mentioned, don't be scared to ask for clarification during the conversation as well. And be enthusiastic. So allow your personality to shine through, and feel free to ask thought-provoking questions at appropriate moments, as this will demonstrate that you're genuinely interested and actively listening to the delegate. And finally, on this slide, don't forget to be yourself. That's all you can be. As I say, this session isn't about making you someone that you're not. It's all about being yourself and using these tips in a way that suit you. One final quote from Stephanie Ward I'd like to mention is, "The truth is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. This occurs over time and is all about building relationships and not about collecting business cards. Be yourself, be real, and have fun." And that's what this is all about. And remember, you can totally do this. Do let us know how you get on with your events and conferences, and if you would like to talk about anything that we've discussed today, or talk about a specific event coming up that you'd like to you're sort of worried about, or you'd like to talk about your participation in that event, do get in touch with us at careers@yorksj.ac.uk, or you can book an appointment with a careers advisor. I hope this session on networking effectively has been useful. Keep in touch, and thank you very much for listening.